Hello, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my studio. My name is Kavin Campbell, and I am an artist. This is continuing working on a good friend of mine, her portrait, Gina. I won't be talking about her until I do the last video, and until then I'm just going to be talking about different things. Today I want to talk to you guys about yesterday. What I would like you to do is I want you to follow along with me by maybe even pausing this video right now and going to check out 3 songs that I'm going to be referring to in this video. The first song is a classic. Everyone should know this song. Written by John Lennon, performed by the Beatles. Yesterday. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Yesterday came suddenly. I'm not half the man I used to be. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong, and now I long for yesterday. And then the second song would be a song by Guns N' Roses called Yesterdays. And Yesterday's got nothing for me. What can I say about this song? It seems like there's so many things about this song that touch me, because Guns N' Roses has had a place in my heart about a lot of things, a lot of times over my life. I have very many meaningful songs, and Yesterday's Got Nothing for Me is very much the same. And then one of my favorites by Pantera is Yesterday Don't Mean Shit. What can I say about this? This song hits me right in the heart, because yesterday don't mean shit, because tomorrow's the day you have to face. There's no rewinding time, right? They'll tell you all about guilt, and in time you'll face the darkness, but darkness is a friend to you. Embrace it, fly through the madness. The thing about Yesterday's and how I am referencing these songs in conjunction with this channel and so many things in life currently is that everything happened yesterday. And the reality of that is that you have to be able to look at where you are. The truth about it is that the idea of portraits from the past is kind of a look at the fact that I'm painting something that was something that happened a time ago. The only thing that we have in this moment is this moment right now, and at some point in time right now is moving into yesterday. And the reality of that is that we cannot remain in yesterday. No matter how much we want things to be like they were, they can never be like they were. There is no waking up from the nightmare of reality and the present moment to rewind the time and bring you back. There's no going back. This is coming out in the season of Christmas, and there is no ghost of Christmas past to pull you into something that happened before to give you an opportunity to correct things. The only thing that you can do, the only thing that I can do, is accept where I am in the moment and look to tomorrow. Tomorrow is the promise. Right now, in this instant, in this moment, in this breath that you have, that is reality. The past is a memory, and the future is a figment of your imagination. Now, what does all that mean, and how does all that boil down into anything of any significance? Well, what I've come to understand about things is that depression is a malady of your mind where you are locked in the memories and traumas and events of the past. And you cannot alleviate yourself from these things. You cannot shake yourself from these things. You wake up in the middle of the night dreaming of the things that occurred to you. And you are, in essence, stuck in the past. And the problem with that is that being stuck in the past while currently being in the present is leaving your mind, leaving your body, and leaving your spirit in a state of flux that makes it very difficult for you to even function. You know, you can't go back and undo anything. The only thing that you could do is accept it for what it is. Now, that is one of the hardest things that anybody can do, is to accept that the past is the past, that what happened, happened, and that now you have to figure out a way. And notice that I say now, because that's when you have to do it. The truth of the matter is that the only thing that we truly ever have is now. And so it's taking this moment, this instant, to recognize, to rationalize, and to understand and process the fact that that minute ago is gone. The beginning of this video, when I started talking, is already gone. It's already written in the past. And what I'm about to say, well, realistically, I don't know, because I don't script any of this. I just let it flow. I just live in the moment and let what come. Now, at some point in time, I'm moving into the future, and therein is another instance of malady. Anxiety comes from trying to live in the future. You see, it is impossible to have any clue, to have any inkling, to have any knowledge of what happens to come. You can go to your little soothsayer, you can go to your little card reader, you can read it in a fortune cookie. There is absolutely nothing that can tell you what is going to happen next. There's nothing that is predetermined. There is no way for you to look into a crystal ball and get the answers. There's no ghost of Christmas future, right? There's nothing that can put you in a time outside of now. However, where you look back to the past and you can see everything clearly, you cannot look to the future with any sight whatsoever. There's no clue as to what's around the corner. There's nothing. And so that anxiety comes from the unknown, not being able to have any control over the outcome of things yet to come. And this can be very problematic for someone who is living in fear of the future and being stuck in the now. Same thing, that's going to not do good for your mind. It's not going to do good for your body, and it's not going to do good for your spirit. The truth of the matter is that what we have is the present. That's why they call it the present, because it is the gift of now. Everything happens in the moment. And the reality of that is that is our only opportunity to do anything to recover from the past and prepare us for the future, right? We can always look back at the past and wish that we had done things differently, wish that we can take back things that we said, wish that we could undo failures. But I can't change anything. Believe me, if I could get into a DeLorean, hit 88 miles an hour and go back into the past, man, there are so many things, so many places in the past that I would go back and change. And then just like it is in the movies, you go back and change one thing in the past, well, that changes who you are now and the trajectory for the future. These things are impossible. It's just not possible. And then the reality of it is that on a greater universal cosmic scale, time is a continuum. You know what I mean? Those things exist in that place for the reason that they do. And the future is in the same thing. We can't change anything backwards, and we can't change anything forward. We can influence our future, right? We can hope with trajectory to maybe reach something, but the reality of it is that we can't predict for obstacles, or we can't predict for barriers, or we can't predict for where we will have help or won't have help, or where we will walk with many or walk alone. We can't do any of those things. And so the reality that we live in is the only place where we can do anything to change. We have to change now. We have to do something about our circumstances now. We have to do something about how we feel now, no matter what it is. I have experienced some of the most traumatic things that anybody could ever experience. And I'm not claiming that my experience is greater or worse than anyone else's, right? I don't live in your shoes, right? So I can't speak of the things that you have had to go through and endure. But I can tell you this, that we all go through traumatic times. We all go through trouble. We all have something in our past that we wish that we could change, that we wish that we could take back, that we wish that we can do over again. But unlike your video game, there's no reset button. You can't start over from the past. You can only start over from right now. And then, in that, you have to let go of the past. In the Beatles song, when he says, I believe in yesterday, and that he longs for yesterday, that desire for that time, for those moments, those things, that desire actually is a poison. It is actually toxic, because first of all, the whole idea of want and desire is a kinship, is a relationship to suffering. So you have to learn to let go of yesterday, right? It would seem to be easy because you can't really do anything to bring it back, right? But you are locked in your mind. You are locked in your feelings, and memories are there, right? That's what helps us to process who and where we are right now. It's a part of our our being, right? How do we learn not to make a mistake? Well, you had to have made a mistake, right? And so therein, longing for something that is gone is longing for something that no longer exists. It only exists in your mind, right? And so you have to kind of get a hold of that, right? When it comes to the Guns N' Roses song, Yesterday's Got Nothing for Me, old pictures that I'll always see. Excuse me. And so what is that? You know, you look at pictures just like this one, and it is going to remind you of something that happened, good or bad. It's going to take you to a time way back when, and you're going to think about it, and, you know, and it's cute. You know, I got baby pictures that I go back and I look at, and I remember, wow, how young and innocent I was. But that's not me today. That's not me today. And longing for those times of joy and happiness, you know, those things feel good, but they're also bittersweet, because it just reminds me that that little boy has got a whole lot of things that he's going to have to deal with that he might not be entirely prepared for. And so that brings us to this place where, you know, again, when I was saying earlier in the other video about holding on to these trinkets, these objects, these mementos of the past can often be, you know, that dose of toxicity of the past, you know. And so in certain things in life, you know, it's better to just close that photo album and put it away. You know what I mean? Now, in the idea of like yesterday don't mean shit. The thing about it is that to me is one of those things where, you know, in the first two songs, Yesterday by the Beatles and Yesterdays by Guns N' Roses, they have this sense of hurt, this sense of being upset, where, excuse my little puppy, she's out there barking at whatever for no reason, probably. But Yesterday Don't Mean Shit is kind of a motivational song, because that was the one for me that reminds me that, hey man, you can't do shit about yesterday. You know what I mean? Tomorrow's the day you have to face. And so that's the one where for me, it's like, you know, I get sad when I listen to Yesterday, because, you know, I miss my loved ones, right? And Yesterdays, you know, that just kind of is one of those things where, you know, again, it reminds me of those moments in the past. But Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, man, that tells me straight up that, hey man, you gotta forget that stuff. You gotta move past that. You gotta get past the hurt, get to a place where you can reconcile the trauma, you can, you know, deal with the triggers, you know, put all that stuff in perspective, and then move into the future, because tomorrow's the day we have to face, right? And if you are busy looking in the rear view mirror, you are going to crash, right? I would say that I would challenge you to drive to work tomorrow looking in the rear view mirror, but you won't make it to work. So I'm not challenging you to do that. What I'm asking you to do, more or less, is look at how small that rear view mirror is compared to the window in front of your face. There's so much more in front of you than there is behind. And what is in front of you is clear, it is right, and it is moving at the speed that you're moving at. What's in your rearview mirror is backwards, it's small, and it's running away from you as fast as you're running away from it. So when I think about yesterday don't mean shit, that tells me, man, stop looking in the rearview mirror. Stop looking back there. Ain't nothing back there that I can change. Ain't nothing back there for me. You know, there's a lot of people that I love in my past. You know, there's a lot of people I love yesterday. That doesn't mean that my love is going to stop. Doesn't mean that my love will change. It just means that I can no longer afford in my mind, I can no longer afford in my heart, and I can no longer afford in my body to keep looking backwards. You know, it's dangerous to do that. You know what I mean? I have to be where I am, just like you. We all are in the now, in this moment, in this instant. And with your eyes cast backwards, you miss what's heading your way. And what could be heading your way could actually be better than yesterday, right? That's the thing about the present. The gift of the present is the optimism that your better days are in front of you and not behind you. Believe me when I tell you that I came up against something that made me not want to be here anymore. Now, I want you to understand that when you get to a place where you start feeling like you don't want to be here anymore, there is a thing in your heart, there's a thing in your mind and your body that is convinced that the best of you is gone. And the reality of it is that if you live long enough, your better days are always in front of you. Always. You're moving towards your better days. You're moving into your destiny, right? And so with the promise of better days in front of you, with the promise of your life improving, whatever the situation might be, that's how you have to approach it. Because I want you to understand something extremely clearly, right? If you were looking behind you, you could very well miss the good things coming. But more importantly, you could miss bad things coming your way, right? And if you're looking behind you, well, you won't see the truck coming to hit you, right? If you're looking forward, well, then you might see that bad thing coming and have a better way to handle it, to avoid it, to do something with it, so that when that negativity comes into your life, you're better prepared to handle it. There is nothing worse than being stuck looking at yesterday and having something in the future come to crush you and you didn't see it coming. Let me tell you, that is exactly what happened to me. I was so stuck in the trauma of losing my parents that for the last 2 years, I couldn't even really move. I tried to do things, but I had no real eye for the future. I had no real mindset for what I was going to do or try to do. I had no real plan. And then when tragedy hit my life, I was floored. I was devastated, and I wanted it to be over. But God had other plans, regardless of what I wanted, regardless of the things that I did. Ultimately, God is in control of everything. The past belongs to God, the present belongs to God, and the future belongs to God. And so the thought process I want you to start to kind of rationalize for you, and even more, I say this for myself, is to let go and let God. I have no control over anything, right? The only thing that I have control over is how I deal with what happened in the past and rationalize it, put it into perspective, put it in a box, and put it in the ground and let it go, right? The only thing after that I can control is how to be in this moment, right? And even then, I don't really have very much control over that, right? There's a whole lot of things going on in this world that I don't have control over, and the circumstances can always affect me right now. And then I have no control over the future, not even a little bit. The only thing that I can control about my future is how I am looking forward to it, right? Whether it's looking forward to great things or looking to be prepared for catastrophe, right? So, my dear friends, my dear family, my loved ones, yesterday don't mean shit. It don't mean anything. It has no bearing on anything, right? You can pay the price today for the shit you did yesterday. That's what they call karma. It comes back to bite you. It comes back to get you, right? But once it bites you, it lets you go. And at that point in time, you got to take your wounded little heart, your wounded little soul, and you know, sure, if today is about being on the ground, bleeding and crying and pleading for help, whatever, you know, I'm not telling you that, you know, being in your right now moment of absolute grief is wrong. We all have to have those moments. But the idea is to get yourself up, to dust yourself off, and keep going. Now that, my friends, is the hardest thing ever. That's the part really that stops a lot of people from progressing. The place where to look in themselves, get up, and move forward. And so with that, I get up and I move forward, and I'll see you next time around. Thank you for watching.